Hello everyone, here's Raindale with a War of the Vision video. Today we'll be taking a look at how to counter Sakura and magic teams in general using Spellblades. Using 100% magic resistance builds is nothing really new in War of the Vision. The oldest thread on that topic that I could find on Reddit is actually 7 months old, so it's something that's been out for a while. But since then, there are many new resources that are available, and it's actually easier than ever to build a character to become immune to magic attacks. So what we'll do is we'll quickly take a look at how to do it if you want to replicate this strategy, and then we'll be taking it into Arena and showcasing a couple different units running the Spellblade job or main job or sub job, and seeing how we can make them work. So yeah, let's begin. First off, magic resist in War of the Vision can reach all the way up to 130% at the moment. So what that means is you don't have to have the best vision card, the best Esper, or the best units to make it work. You can actually sacrifice a couple points of magic resist here and there and still hit the cap thanks to the resist magic ability. So let's quickly go over it. There are quite a few units with a high base magic resistance. I would say the two most notable units are Fryevia, who can go all the way up to 49%, and then Whisper, who can go to 47%, so very close, only with their base stats and passives. But there are a couple other units, and honestly, any unit with the Spellblade sub-job or main job can reach very high with the resist magic buff. So you don't need 100% resistance for it to work really well, as we'll see with one of our units in this video, which will be Kilphe. She won't be at 100% even with the buff, but she'll still be very high in terms of magic resist. Then you use a magic resistance Esper. There are currently 4 of them in the game. They all provide up to 15%, so a very decent amount of resistance here. And then you use magic resistance gear. There are currently a couple options, as I've placed on screen. All of them go up to 8%. And finally, you can use vision cards for magic resistance. And right now, the two options are Dwayne's Irresistible Darkness card, which goes up to 12%, or Fenrir, getting you all the way up to 20%. Okay, so the final and perhaps most important part of this build is the magic resistance buff from the Spellblade sub-job. Even Spellblade main job units need to have the sub-job equipped in order to be able to use this move, and what it does is it affects the unit casting it and all 4 squares around it with a 38% magic resistance buff for 3 turns. So that means if you have 62% magic resistance before the buff, you get all the way to 100%. And then you also boost your allies' resistance, possibly giving them the ability to tank 2 or 3 hits from magic sources before going down. So it's all around a great ability, and other damage types don't have comparable abilities yet in the game, so that's the reason why it's so much easier to build for magic resistance than any other damage type. So what you want to do for this build to work well is use as many of those factors as you can to get a high amount of magic resist on your character, and then make sure that this character gains hate using Taunting Spell or the Vow of Love card, depending how you want to run your setup. So with this in mind, let's bring it into the arena and see how our various characters go. Alright, we've got an enemy team with 2 mages and Agrias. Agrias is rather scary for us because all of our units have high faith. They're going to be very easy to disable, but aside from her, we don't fear much damage coming in from the other side. I also really like using Fryevia against Agrias if she can get to attack her, because she does a very high amount of damage to Agrias. Surprisingly, Agrias has high faith and low spirit usually, so she actually takes a very decent amount of damage from Spellblades, who go through her defense and other barriers. So we'll see that in action shortly. Now, our team has a very high offense as well, so taking an enemy down in the early turns of the battle is not very surprising from my perspective. And here we'll see Fryevia taking no damage from the enemy. I really enjoy the interaction between Magic Guard and the 100% resistance. It's just funny to see no damage instead of 1 damage in some occasions. And the reason that happens is because we have a... basically, we reduce 1 damage by half, leading to a big total of 0. As you can tell, Taunting Spell did 2000 damage to Agrias, and she is very tanky against physical attacks, as you can see. But Fryevia hurts her quite a bit, so if she doesn't get disabled, she actually kills Agrias in 2 hits, usually. So that's a good thing in my book. Alright, here's a very high offense enemy team. They're running the light attack up card maxed, and then a maxed out Odin and maxed out Holy Day Party. So they're going to be resistant to any kind of damage we do, and all of their light attacks are higher damage. Again, we don't care how much modifier they have. If they hit us while our buff is up, they deal 1 damage, no matter what. The enemy is also running the Spellblades sub on Warrior of Light, so if you have Warrior of Light, you can use that on him. He's one of the good candidates for that, but we don't. I don't own him, so I can't really feature that. Another good candidate for the Spellblade job is actually Ildira. She has this ability to boost magic resistance as well. So there are actually quite a few characters with that. On the MR side, you have Dario. That's one of the most incredible MR tanks to use. There's also Marial, who has ranged attacks and a couple of other things. Here I'll just say the reason why we took some extra damage, even though we were at 100% resistance, is because the enemy Sakura is using the Soul of Tamasa, which gives a little bit of magic damage penetration. So that's the reason why you saw such a number that wasn't 1. Now, we have a little bit of extra tankiness on all our team against magic, because they're all affected by Fryevia's buff. So that's the reason why they didn't, why Niv'Lu didn't go down in 1 hit. It's really thanks to that buff, coupled with the fact that we're using a magic resistance vision card. Now, Fryevia didn't get to do much in terms of the actions she did in this battle, but she tanked hits that would have otherwise killed the other members of our party. So I would still argue that she did her job as a magic tank in this battle, and we're going to win it thanks to her taking the Sakura limit break like a pro, and allowing the other guys to survive. Okay, we're taking Whisper for a tour here, so our team's a little bit different this time around, and we're fighting the same enemy team. I just wanted to show the fact that it's not only Fryevia that can do this trick, it's really any Spellblade unit with a decent magic resistance. I highly recommend you use WOTV Calc, look up the unit's base magic resistances, and see how high you can go with the gear, vision cards, and espers that you have access to. That will allow you to easily know whether you can pull that build off or not, or at least how high you can go. In my perspective, you don't really need to hit 100. It's good for bragging rights, but honestly 90% resistance is more than enough to survive a couple hits and make the difference in your battle. As you could see in the previous battle, where Niv'Lu actually survived the hit with around 50% resistance thanks to the buffs that she had on herself. We don't need them to have maxed out stats for it to work. We just need them to have enough to take the enemy aggro for a while. And here, Whisper really does that well. She's taking hits, she's taking the attacks away from the rest of the team, allowing our own party members to do their job. Now, I'm a little bit afraid of the position she decided to take up front because she's grouped with the rest of the team. And that means that we can now get AoE'd. I don't like getting AoE'd when the rest of our members are a bit squishier, so not a big fan of the way she positioned herself here. But yeah, exactly. So we're starting to take some some hits. It's not ideal. And now the magic resistance buff has worn out, so she's going down. Whisper does have the disadvantage of being a light type unit, a dark type unit, weak to light. So against Sakura, as soon as her buff wears out, she's going down pretty quickly. You can still see though that our other guys are taking a lot more damage than she is. So even with that little bit of resistance, she still tanked better than them. Okay, this time we're running Kilphe as our magic tank. I don't really like the fact that she is going to be in front of a wind enemy damage dealer. And Kilphe, the way that she is built in my team, cannot get to 100% magic resistance because I'm not running Fenrir. Now, Kilphe can, with all the optimal gear, get to 100%, but ours can currently only go up to 92% with magic resistance buff up. That should still be more than enough if we're taking only 8% of the enemy's potential damage. We're not going to die that easily, so that also goes to show that you don't need the maxed out stats to do that. And also Kilphe's AI prefers casting Magic Barrier over Magic Resistance. She has a more aggressive AI than most mages, so that also comes into account. Yeah, the rest of our team is weak against magic, so they will get to go down very easily. I'm actually surprised that Viktora took 2 hits to go down rather than 1. Now she does come back up, which is in our favor, but let's see if Kilphe can get in range to start tanking a couple hits. And as opposed to a couple other members of our team, as opposed to other teams that we've run, we are not running Vow of Love on Kilphe. So if she doesn't cast her taunting spell, she's not going to be the first one attacked. So this battle is definitely looking like a loss, but let's still go all the way through and see how many hits it takes to get Kilphe down. That should be able to show you how much punishment she can take if she's in front and tanking for your team. So we're now at 2 magical attacks and she's still looking very healthy. Obviously, she's not going to be able to take down all the enemy members. I'm not expecting this to be a win. And now we're getting LB'd by the enemy Kilphe, which basically removes our entire magic resistance buff. So the buff gives us plus 38%, and her limit break can remove 38%. So when fighting enemy Kilphes, be wary. Once she gets in range, she will use that if your resistance is high enough, because it'll be her highest damage ability. So it can set you up for subsequent magic attacks, taking you down afterwards. Alright, so fun fact, I'm actually able to challenge the same team, this time using Fryevia as a magic tank, and now we're ranged attackers for support. In my opinion, if you want to run this team, a similar team in this current arena map, you probably prefer using ranged attackers. First off, they can cross the bridge, like the middle around the map with their attacks, without putting themselves all the way across, so it's easier for a tank to be in front and take the hits. That's not the case for units that want to move forward and attack. Shorter range units, they're going to group up with your tank, and often they will take the AoE's attacks. So that's a major disadvantage of those units. So we prefer having range units that are going to stay behind our tank and just don't get in danger zone that easily. So here, Fryevia moved forward enough. She's going to be taking the enemy's Eternal Pain attack, and again, our enemy's running Soul of the Massa. The magic penetration doesn't change much, honestly, so we took a bit of damage, but that's not going to be impactful in terms of who wins the fight. Now, the enemy Kilphe will now be in range to hit us. Fortunately, she typically uses Holy instead of Energy Buster. I don't know which move she'll use, but if it's Energy Buster, Niv'Lu, oh no, we're all going to go down. I really hope that she is casting Holy. Great, so we're safe. As you can tell, against magic attackers, Fryevia can do decent damage. That's because her damage is magic based and thus impacted by faith. And since we're fighting mages, they also have a high faith. So we can benefit from that and deal a surprising amount of damage to them. Now, Fryevia got hit a couple times and she did not use Taunting Spell yet, so she is actually going to lose her hate after this attack. And this one hit by Sakura was after our buff wore out, so it's actually the damage that she takes without magic resistance on. As you can tell, very low damage again. Fryevia is not the best character, but in those scenarios, she is a very good one. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. The idea here was to showcase that it's not insanely complicated to pull off a 100% resistance build and counter mage teams. Obviously, you have to target the enemy teams that you want, and you have to make sure that your tanks are going to be up front, but you don't need maxed vision cards on all your units and +5 gear from raid to make that happen, right? If you have a couple decent pieces, you can easily get to 90% or even 100% using the combinations that we showed in this video. So yeah, if you enjoyed your time here and learned a thing or two, please like and subscribe and comment. I really want to get to improve those videos, so it's from your comments that I can do that. So that's what I had to say. Once again, thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.